What's up, everybody? Real with Omar. Here we are, special guest. Not my sister, but a sister. Jessica Figueroa. Sorry about that. You know me, Louis Omar, owner of HR Capital, HR Hudson Group Real Estate. And Jessica is the owner of, is it Figueroa? Because we were going to do something. So what happened? Like, give me the right.
So, I am law offices of Jessica M. Figueroa,
Okay.
PLLC. That is me.
Okay, that's still you.
That's still me.
Okay.
Yeah, we were gonna do something. So what happens in business? You try, new things. You see if they work out, and when you realize it's not really working, it's not in line with your goals.
So let me ask. So I gotta ask, right? So because I have my own opinions about things like this. So at a point you were thinking about expanding, right? So expansion or partnering.
And I still am.
Okay.
We're still expanding, but we're just taking a different approach.
Okay. We can get to that. And so you're thinking, all right, so this other person has like maybe resources or human capital that you guys can now divide more work and stuff like that. What part of it didn't work for you? Just so, people that are in businesses, I was at a broker owner meeting yesterday at HGAR, and, like they're talking about all these things about real estate specifically. And I said, yo, at the end of the day, we're all business owners.
Correct.
We all, because they're talking about, I'm just throw these terms that are out there, ancillary revenue and this and that. I'm like, yo, you got to tell people how they can make money, how they can retain good employees, but also how to be creative, right? Because everybody AI this and so going back to you, you were going to step into a situation. What part didn't work for you?
Okay, there were a few parts that didn't work for me that I noticed. Some I noticed very quickly. Others I thought I could change, and then I noticed that implementing what needed to happen in order to implement those changes was probably too time consuming for what I need right now in my life.
Okay, so it didn't work with your timeline.
Correct.
Okay.
So let's back up a little bit and talk about my timeline. So for the last 3 years,
you've been out.
I've been I did down.
Doing some other stuff. You were doing some other stuff.
Well, my husband and I had a baby, and then after that we had another baby. Thank you. And it was a journey. Full disclosure, because I'm an open book. We did IVF. So I literally felt like I was pregnant for 3 years straight. So that really messes with your body and just a lot of changes. So I took a step back. So I told myself 2026 is the year that Jessica Figueroa is back. J-Fig is back. Figure Facts are going to start coming back. Like all the things. Jessica's back. I'm networking again. I'm getting out there. Hence, we're here. You called me. I was like, absolutely.
And we're doing business already. Just FYI.
Correct.
Put that out there. Right.
So I knew 2026 I had to come hard. And even with the pregnancies and the baby and the whole thing, like business was booming. Business, I never just
stayed busy. Right.
So I knew I needed to keep that momentum and grow it. How do I do that? So I thought about merging. And it seemed like a great idea, but I think that for people like me, I'm a type A personality. I'm the chief at the table, right? Okay. If there's another chief at the table, now we got to really figure out how we're coexisting. And that was a little bit difficult for me. It's hard for me to implement systems that I know work when a part of the problem was we were in 2 locations, right? So 2 separate locations. So in order to truly implement systems, new systems, completely revamp offices with people that have been doing real estate and doing their job for 20 years the way that they're doing it, you have to physically be there.
Right. You're trying to do a culture change, right?
Complete culture change.
Right.
Culture change, system change. Like I got people clocking in and out now because every penny is my dollars, right?
Right.
Every second equals a penny to come out of my pocket.
Real estate, correct. Correct.
So it was very difficult to manage that while not physically being there.
Okay.
Because in my personal life, I strategically set up my office very conveniently for me out of my home, but it's completely separate, full booming office, separate entrance and everything.
Okay, so a real home office, right?
Conference room,
wow.
the whole shebang.
The mini mansion. All right. I got to throw it out there.
Check the tax rules. It's true. So, but yes, and I did that purposely. So now having a second office, which in theory sounds great, but in practice, it was like, well, how do I make sure that they're actually implementing my systems? Now it became like I'm micromanaging. So now I'm a managing partner, not making managing partner money, because as in law, managing partners are supposed to make more, because now not only do I have to carry my workload, but I also have to make sure the office is
team doing their job. Right. I got you.
Right. So it's a dual hat type of role.
Yeah.
So now it's me micromanaging how? By checking files, by sending emails, by asking for checklists, by, I'm forcing people to stay accountable, but that makes them feel like they have a bullseye on their back.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was really going to help the culture that I was trying to implement, that I do have in my office. So that was tough. I'm an e-office, so to speak. I learned from old school attorneys, as you know, the first attorney I worked with.
Yeah.
But we did things, phenomenal attorney, taught me virtually everything I know. But we did things old school. And that was just
that was modern.
Right. It was like sending out 3 signed contracts, getting by mail 2 back.
Send the fax.
Sending 1 copy to the client, and he would mark up the contract by hand.
Very old school.
That's what it was then. But now I don't even print anything until closing time.
Everything's e-signed, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
My comments to the contract are getting done. When I receive them, they're getting done on Adobe, different color, or track changes, and I'm flying, shooting it out there.
Right.
And something as simple as just printing too much. Another office with the same staff numbers is printing 4 times than I am. For me, it's a numbers thing.
Right.
And this transfers to any business. You're looking at the numbers.
What I'm going to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
So when you were thinking about partnering up, did you go to the office and met them and kind of, okay, so it was a physical thing. Okay.
Yeah. So we did that for a while.
Okay.
Did that and looked at the numbers and looked at all the things, but it's like somebody put it to me like this and it made perfect sense. We were dating and then we moved in together.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So we moved in together and I was like, why are you leaving your shorts on the floor?
Yeah. That kind of home right now.
Right.
Because those clothes go there, I'm like, fuck, no. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are we printing so much?
Yeah, what's going on?
That's costing me money. Why are we this? Why are we that? And now in the partnership, the reality of like, before when I made money, that money was my money.
Right.
I paid my staff, took care of my staff when the time called for it with bonuses and gifts and things like that. But my money was my money that I utilized however I saw fit. Now it's like a marriage.
Right. It goes into the pot, and then you have to talk about what we're going to do.
Correct.
And you lose speed. You lose a little bit of speed, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that feeling. I'm only seeing a fraction of what I actually brought into the firm. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. And then when I see waste, that bothers me a little bit because not only am I not seeing my money, but my money's not flying out.
I'm bringing money in that's getting wasted.
Correct.
Right. Just
and there was just very different. There was differences in opinion as to, they saw there was legitimacy behind that. And I saw there was inefficiencies behind that.
Okay.
So not working. I also think that you want to be, you need to surround yourself with like-minded people, right? In business and in personal life.
Right.
And the energy that somebody brings to the room makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always say busy is a blessing. Busy is not a burden.
Right.
As business owners, we want to be busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That phone's not ringing, that's a problem because I don't know if I could pay you. Right? So I needed that positive energy on a day-to-day basis, and I honestly didn't feel like I was getting
You weren't getting reciprocated?
I just feel like, again, we look at things differently. And differences of personality, differences in how we run the businesses. I just think that there wasn't, without me being the one to say, now I'm the boss, everybody sit down and you're going to do what I say, it wasn't going to work. And I didn't want that culture.
Right.
So I figured, you know what? I think it's better to preserve the pre-existing relationships we had.
Because you were friendly.
Correct.
Okay.
Preserve the pre-existing relationships we had. I think it's just better if we part ways. We could still work together, but we don't got to be married. We can still live together, but I don't gotta be a wife. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of, I think that was the best course of action for us, for me at this point.
What about the other party?
I don't think they agree.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think everything happened the way it was supposed to happen for each other, and that's all right. I'm still here. I still offer like help. If you feel like you need something, please feel free to reach out. And in business, you can't be afraid to make those calls.
Right.
At the end of the day,
they're hard. They're hard calls sometimes because you have relationships and there's humanity to it.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So, on the one end, I was like, I pulled out less than 60 days in.
Wow. That was fast.
That was fast.
Yeah.
So on the one end, it's like, damn, that was kind of fast. Was this like a shotgun wedding?
Right.
But on the other hand, it's like, But should I be commending myself as a business owner to know that with conviction, this isn't going to work for me? So why am I going to keep being in it? The math ain't mathing.
Yeah.
So why would I stay and now continue to waste my money and complicate things? Because now marketing efforts start. Now you get out there. Now you're in front of people. Now all these things I meant to say, sorry, guys.
Then you guys resolve it, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's hard. I think you're better at that than I am because I have been on a different. So when I hire people, I tend to see, I try to see things that might not be there. Like I'm like, yo, if they had the chance, I always look at it like that, and I try to give that chance. But unfortunately, like you said in the beginning, it's like you first start dating, they're gonna show you the best. Then they get comfortable, and then you're like, yo, why are you not doing this, and why are you not doing that? And then there's always a reason.
Yeah.
But going back to in business, this is the final say. The math has to math.
Correct.
So it takes you to a point where you're like, yo, and I've had to. Going back to me personally, I've had to be very, I guess, methodical on the way I dissolved like employees because people want to sue you for no reason. Like it is mad. He's up. I hate him. I'm gonna sue him. He whatever. So I had to do that, and that was a bitter pill to swallow. I had to once I decided, I had to let the other parties feel like they decided. Right. So I'm like,
it's all psychological.
Yeah. So I'm like,
business owners, we're psychologists, we're mathematicians, we're the whole thing.
And you gotta let them feel like they got over because if not, they just tend to make things difficult for you. And going back to as a business owner, you just want to focus on revenue, right? Customer experience, revenue. That's it. Because the revenue dictates my lifestyle.
Yes.
Right. So at least you were talking to almost a peer, right? So it's not like they go back on the street.
Correct.
Being homeless. They had their little rhythm going or whatever 100%. They was doing, right? So I don't know if that's, I mean, you can look at the good and the bad on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, so, all right, so we decided that. So now what is our plan?
So the plan now is I think that it was a very, one of the most expensive lessons for me in life. And I ain't even mad at it. Yeah. It was a lesson is a lesson.
But those are the ones you learn.
Correct. Yeah. A lesson is a lesson. So I realized that part of the reason why I came into the idea of a partnership was because it was a little scary for me being the rainmaker, the only rainmaker, and people's livelihoods relying on me, not only my household, but my staff.
It's called the pressure to perform. Yes,
correct.
I know. Yeah.
And that pressure feels heavy sometimes. So initially I was like, maybe it's a little imposter syndrome too. Like, can I really do this? You know what I mean? Can I continue to do this? Is this sustainable? It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I could share this burden with somebody else and I'll feel a little bit more at ease.
Take a little weight off. Yeah,
right.
I got it.
It had the opposite effect for me.
You felt like you're responsible for yourself, your people, and her people, or their people? I don't know if it's her.
It just, yeah. And I don't know why, but it had the opposite effect for sure. Like I was not feeling more secure.
Okay.
So now I'm proud to say that I got this. I ain't even worried about it no more.
So you own it.
Yeah. Then it forced me to take a second. I said, let me really look at my numbers. Because I will say, again, it's an expensive lesson. We had a CXO who helped us understand our numbers a little bit better. Now, I always knew my bottom line was great. I always knew I was in the green. But what does that really mean, right? Yeah. Like, where's the money really going? Right. So it taught me to take a second, as busy as our days are, take a second, even if it's before everybody comes into the office for a half hour, look at your numbers. And I'm like, what was I so scared of?
Yeah.
Every month I killed it.
Yeah. I think, well, like you said, and again, I'm not going to get personal. You had a lot going on in your personal life.
I did.
So that takes energy and effort and intent because one business owner to another, like having a successful marriage, and whatever that means to anybody is different, right? Being a decent parent. I'm not saying great or bad. I'm just saying a present parent.
Yep.
That shit takes energy, and it's not like you could. When you're trying to build something, you gotta be a little obsessed, right? So some other things suffer, right? Yeah. And like when I first started my business, my wife told me like, I was always out, right? So now I'm at a point where I found like a sweet spot, and I'll get to that. And that's one of the reasons I reached out to you because I was like, I really got to work with people I enjoy working with, and I got to work with people that are about it, like I'm about it, right? So we had a transaction together, and I think it went well. And it was a couple of phone calls. I was like, hey man, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And you were like, yeah, I'm with it. And then addendums came up and like, yo, should I put this on the side? Like, because we're pros. I think it worked well because we're both really good at what we do. And that's the way it should be. And to me, I think that is the win when you start working with people, your peers or people above you that could teach you. it's when you're working with like the people that you're dragging all the time is that when the frustration comes out. But going back to what I was saying about you is that you had a lot of other things that needed attention. Maybe you were trying to look for a way that this wouldn't suffer, so I could do with this.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right, because there was a lot going on at home. And I didn't want my business to suffer. But like you said, the truth is some days I'm a phenomenal mom. And some days I'm a phenomenal business owner. And usually those days don't coexist.
In that same day.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. So I think that the partnership might, maybe subconsciously, it would have helped me cope or manage all the things.
If it would have worked that way.
If it would have worked that way.
Right.
So now I'm realizing that I need to be on my own. Maybe what I need to do is I need to just hire up. So I need to hire more staff, which I'm in the process of doing. And I think that I just need to find my unicorn in a new, fresh attorney that doesn't know any other way.
Right. Who can be trained?
Who will learn my way.
Right.
And I think that's easier, training from the beginning instead of trying to retrain people that have been in the business for X amount of years. Okay. Because no matter if they tell you that they're open to change and this and that, it's hard for somebody that's been doing something one way for 20 plus years to now completely pivot. It's hard. So I think that's my game plan.
Okay.
My game plan is to continue to grow, get out there, network again. Truthfully, I am good at rainmaking. What I need to do is make sure that I'm maintaining the workload that I'm able to bring into the business. And to do that, I need people. I need staff.
Yeah.
So we're staff now.
You need the staff to service, but also I guess the part that I'll tell you, like from what I've noticed on my own, like in the beginning, any business is business, right? So now I'm at a place where I'm like, no, I don't think it's gonna work. I think you should go down the block to another lender. Right. We talked about this off camera. I was like, nah, it's not gonna work. And I don't say that with any type of ego. I say that because I've done that where I overextend and you end up having to do everything, and I don't do it because I do it because it's my standard of life, and I feel like sometimes people disappoint and they're not grateful, which is okay, it's on them. But going back to me, I'm like, well, I have to set some boundaries, right? So now I'm like, yo, I don't think I'm a good fit for you. I think you should go here, or I don't do those type of loans. Even if I do, I think you should go there because I'm starting to see that not all business is good business, and I say that to you because. Like I told you, okay, I was like, there's like certain deals that are happening and I'm like, yo, it's good. And then I get into it. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think it's a good deal. So I mean, in the beginning, again, you have to take whatever. Who are your best referral partners? Are they realtors? Are they loan officers? Are they just people?
Realtors and loan officers for sure, because I do represent buyers and sellers, but I also represent lenders and closings.
Right.
So I'm open to any of referrals from those sources, right? Sometimes, like you said, I got to fire myself though. And I'm okay with that. Okay. I've gotten to the point in my career where 100% I'm fine with that. And every single time, every intro call that I have with clients, I tell them, shop me around, call other attorneys. You got to feel comfortable with your team. And that's a two-way street.
Right.
The attorney got to feel comfortable with their client too. So I think that's really important. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, even if it's a realtor who refers me a lot of business, I'll tell them, I don't think I'm the best fit for this client. If you still want me to do it, let me manage your expectations and tell you how it's going to go. So I think that I will still continue to do that. And I think that I don't let my staff make those calls, really. But internally, we talk. And how does the client make you feel? If you feel like you're getting disrespected, then all right, you're not communicating with that client because they don't do that to me.
Oh, you get that. Right. We get that. Because, in a real estate transaction, there's so many different parties, but also the client treats parties differently. I noticed that, right? You noticed that? So
absolutely.
So they might be dismissive to your staff.
Yep.
And you get on the phone and everything's cool.
Yep.
Right? Like, why do you, like, on my side, right? When any of my processors call the client, like, why do you need that?
Correct.
And I'll get out and they'll loop me up like, bro, because we need to prove this.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Why you make me get on the phone? Why you make me stop what I'm doing? Because, and that's hard, but it's also a personality thing. It
is.
I don't know where it comes from, but, older men dealing with women sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
That's an issue.
That's the issue. So I try to mitigate that a little bit by the initial calls that I have with the clients. Either it's the intro call or during our contract review. I always at some point try to tell them, okay, now let's talk about how it is to work with me.
Okay.
And so I tell them, if my staff is calling you for something, it's because I sent them. If they're asking you for information, it's because we need it. If you're not sure and you really need to talk to me, then you're going to schedule a call. So I try to make sure that they understand I am not usually available at the drop of a dime. I try to make myself as available as possible. But if I'm sitting literally right here, right now, and a client calls, I'm not picking up the phone. That would be rude to you, rude to the audience.
Well, it's also it's like a disruption of your life. Like you got to have your own boundaries. Like
there has to be.
Not to cut you off, but like I tell all my clients, I'm at the office till 7:00. Like, with the way the interest rates have been and the way the market's been, my solution has been to be available more. So I tell them I'm in the office at 9 to 7. 5 days a week.
Right.
That's a lot. That's most of the days. What else?
Yeah.
Don't call me outside unless it's an emergency, which we're not doctors.
I say that all the time.
We're not saving your life.
I'm not curing cancer.
Right. Exactly.
Nothing's happening.
So like, unless it's ridiculously important, which it shouldn't be.
Right.
I think that's enough time. But you have to, going back to like I was saying before, when you start, you don't have boundaries. You're like, yo, man, whatever. Yeah, I'm available 24 hours. I'll come to your house. Right. And or pull up to my house. And now you're like, all right, listen. I have a decent sized business. I have marketing. It's coming in. Now I have to set the play. This is the way we do it, right? This is the way we do it. So, all right. So you tell them, hey, this is my client. My team calls you because I asked them to. Yep. How's the response? They usually just on board.
They're usually totally fine with it. I'll have occasions, if we're calling for sensitive information like a social. And they question why we need that. And my staff does a good job at explaining why. Sometimes they'll still want to hear my voice. I mean, it is what it is. You can't avoid that. That's part of the client's customer service. You have to.
Yeah, listen, I've had clients pay retainer fee to me. And I was like, what? No, he was like, no, I don't talk to you. I was like, no. I was like, you talk to her? No, I got to talk to you. I need access. I was like, all right, it's $5,000. He goes, okay, I'll sell it. I was like, okay.
Okay, see, in that case, I might say.
Yeah. He said, going back to boundaries, I was like, yo, bro. He's like, yo, I need to be able to. He's like, usually it's when a big down payment's on the line, right? They just need to be able to.
But, I 100% respect that from your client. Not to say that, we're putting $1 on our communications, but at the same time, again, like you said, we have boundaries. Mm-hmm. So if you're asking me to wiggle on that boundaries, there's got to be a give and take somewhere.
Let's go back. Well, I'll give you even better because we're both business owners, so we could talk about this. So then you have the people in your life that want everything for free. I know we all have them. And then they're like, yo, why can't you pick? I was like, yo, dude, I can do it when I have time. The person that's paid for my time, they get precedence. And through the conversations I've had, I've taken big L's in my life. And it's okay. I'm all right with that. But I had to take those L's to understand that at the end of the day, I'm a commodity to some people. We could be cousins. It don't matter. Like at the end of the day, they're going to use you and kind of discard you if you're not. How do you deal with that?
So I tell people it's disrespectful, borderline, for you to expect to have the same access to me as a person that paid for that access.
Right.
And I ask them to put themselves in that person's shoes. You paid me $5,000 for my time, and I tell you, sorry, I'm talking to somebody for free right now. I can't get to you. Could you imagine how you'd feel? So that to me, it's huge. I mean, my calendar, I function everything in my life off of my calendar. People think that you call, I should immediately be available. So my solution to that was schedule a call.
Right.
Now I'm managing their expectations a little bit. I think it really is all about communication with clients. Because even if then after you've disclosed what your policy is, they try to wiggle around it, they can never get around the fact that you told them from day one.
Yeah.
This is what it is to work with me. Period, bottom line. So I encourage all business owners to do that. Yeah. This is what it is to work with me. This is my promise to you. But in exchange, this is what I need from you. So if you're clear about that, there's nothing that anybody could say otherwise.
But that's establishing parameters or boundaries in a relationship early. It's almost like a personal relationship, right? You're establishing it. I've had clients where they're like, oh, no, but you don't understand. I'm like, I don't understand what? I was like, yo, there's a contract signing. I don't want to be there. Why aren't you there? Like, the last closing we had together, you were there. Clients don't necessarily expect to see their attorney there all the time. And I told my clients, yo, that's big. That's big. Usually people are busy.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that. Like, there's that balance.
We were there for a while.
I know. My fault. Wire didn't come in time. But it got there. But that's where, so that separates, like, we got to find that happy medium, like to be excellent, where we give enough time to enough people, but also make them feel like they're the only ones.
Yeah.
Right. That becomes the super syrup or serum that will make you
you stand out.
Right. That's why people call you, and that's why people want to refer you, and they want to deal with you. Now I'm going to take this a little off center.
Mhm.
You're an attorney. You live in Westchester. We're just going to say that, but you come from humble beginnings in the Bronx.
Mhm.
Where do you see? Did you have any attorneys in your family?
No.
Okay. Perfect. Did you have any doctors in your family?
No.
Okay. So where do you think, because we spoke about imposter syndrome, where do you think you got the inclination to want to become an attorney? And not to say that you're like the Elon Musk of the attorney, but let's say you have a certain level of success, and that's not just money. That's you're married, you have kids. Other people looking in, they're like, "Yo, that's cool."
Control of my time.
It takes work, right?
Mhm.
Where did you start thinking, "Hey, this is where I want to go in my life. Like, I want to be an attorney. I want to do this." Like, what was there a particular part in your life that
There was a
sparked that?
split moment.
Okay,
Literally.
let's go for it.
So, I mean, if you followed me for a long time, or if you know me personally, you know my grandfather was a huge impact in my life.
Okay.
I named the brokerage after him too. No one So he came from Puerto Rico, stopped going to school, I think 2nd or 3rd grade. So he didn't know how to read or write in English or Spanish. His very, very minimal capabilities. He worked in a factory in Puerto Rico. He worked in the finca.
Right.
And then came.
That's the farm, guys.
Then came to New York and worked in a factory since he got here. He rented rooms with his family. Like he did it the real old school traditional way. They all came, split a room, and then worked so one person could buy a house.
A real immigrant story. Yeah,
Correct.
Absolutely.
So I loved him. I mean, he was the best. He's everybody's favorite uncle. He was like funny guy, the best. And I remember him saying, I looked at him and I said, I think in Spanish, I think I want to be a lawyer. And
how old are you?
Oh my God, I was probably like 10 or 11.
Oh, your baby. Okay.
Like I was little.
Yeah.
And I just remember the look in his face and his eyes. He was like,
You lit up?
yeah, esta va a ser la abogada. This is going to be the family attorney. And from then on, I was literally coined the family attorney. So it was kind of like, whether I want to do this or not, I got to do this.
I got to go. Yeah.
So I did it. And then high school, like I tapped into the legal world a little bit more. And I was like, okay, I kind of like this. And then I kept pursuing it. And funny story, the reason I started working with Jose Rodriguez is because I literally went down Yellow Pages and started calling lawyers.
Really?
To see who would let me just shadow them.
Okay.
And I was an undergrad at the time.
And this is all you just on your own?
On my own.
Right.
And truly because I felt like I have to make my grandfather proud.
Okay.
Anybody would be proud to have a granddaughter that is an attorney, but I feel like for an immigrant that didn't have these resources I mean, come on. So I was like, I have to do this, even if it's just for him. But it ended up being for me too, as I dug into the field. So undergrad, I started calling attorneys. Who's going to let me shadow them? I want to make sure that I really want to do this before I commit to law school.
Right.
Because I've always been, I guess looking back now, business savvy to an extent. Because I'm like, I'm not going to invest in law school if it's something I really don't like.
Okay. So you were aware.
So I was aware, especially because I was putting myself through school.
And you were paying for it?
I was paying for it.
Oh, when you pay attention.
It's different. It's different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, fully.
So I started shadowing Jose Rodriguez. After 6 months, he asked me to stay on full time. Loved it. Kept going with it. Ended up in law school. By the time I graduated, my grandmother had passed away, but my grandfather was able to see me walk.
Nice.
So that was huge.
Nice.
So we celebrated that together and everything. So that's when I decided, that moment when I was a little girl, that's when I decided.
So that's your grandpa. What about your parents? What were their thoughts on it?
They were always supportive.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Yeah, always supportive. But again, this is not a world that they came from, right? My father was a cop. My mom did like administrative jobs and HR, which wasn't a success coming from our immigrant story, right? It's like every generation had to level up.
Right.
My daughter's going to be president.
It's good start of the day.
Just kidding. But, so they were very supportive.
Right.
But I did it on my own. We didn't come from money. We couldn't just write a check for my tuition. Yeah. So, that's why I was able to.
So you've been an attorney. You also opened up the real estate package. Which do you like better, or do they both have strengths?
I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses. I would say that, that's tough because the real estate side, I feel like I have a little bit more control. I think that there's some authority that comes with the initials at the end of my name.
Okay.
that's when I can set clearer boundaries.
The real estate side or legal side?
Legal side.
The legal side, my bad. Okay.
Sorry, did I say real estate?
I'm not sure. We'll edit. We'll see.
So the law firm, I feel like I can set clearer boundaries because this is the lawyer. We're talking to the lawyer. The lawyer's not available. You know, it's
engagement.
It already feels more exclusive, right? To have the lawyer's time and attention.
Yeah.
When you're doing sales, that's not the case.
Right.
When you're doing sales, you're just...
A lot of it's emotion. A lot of it's the right time, right place.
Correct.
Yeah. So going back to legal.
Yeah.
How many times, because I've been in a few deals where I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe they missed this.
Oh.
How many times have you been engaging in a contract negotiation with another attorney and I don't want to say, I'm not trying to make it malicious, but they're trying to like word shit a little way where it's a little weird. Have you been in those? Because I've seen deals clear to close, but I'll give you an example. Clear to close, in the contract, it states though that the buyer has to use a seller's title company. It happened. We're clear to close. They stopped the deal. They're like, no, you have to use our title company. I have to re-clear the file. Again, I was just a loan officer, dude. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And I'm like, yo, who the fuck is reading this, right? The attorney is at the table. She didn't read it. She didn't understand it. We had to adjourn. Have you ever, what's the craziest, without incriminating anything, that you've seen? Because I've seen some wild shit, and I'm like, yo, I can't believe they're attorney, but not attorneys are the same. And the reason I'm saying this is for people to understand there's levels to everything.
Yeah.
There's levels to being a lender, there's levels to being a real estate, there's levels to being attorneys.
Yeah. So with experience comes the ability to like spot these issues, the red flags. I can see them real quick.
Right.
From the first contract that comes to me as a proposed contract from my comments, if I'm representing the buyer side, I'm like, why they worded it like that? Like if they say it's an all cash deal, all cash, but 90-day close. Why?
Right. If it's all cash.
Right. Like if I'm seller side, they're pushing for this. So, is there hard money now? Mm-hmm. That's not what most people think of is all cash. Right. So like, what are the restrictions on the hard money loan? Like, talk to me about that. Then now I start digging. Or something like that. I'd immediately say, what's wrong with title? Mm-hmm. Why does the buyer have to use the seller's title company? What are they hiding? What's really murky that their title company is like, I'll take the risk and I'll give you that policy, no problem.
Right, and ours won't.
Correct.
Yeah. So
like, and there's always a fine line, but you got to dig into the details because there's a fine line between like maybe most title companies would be conservative about this particular issue. And that company is ready to go take all the risk because this is a repeat client.
Right.
So I want to know what the real issue is, and I can educate my client on what that real issue is. I also did title insurance for many years on a national commercial level. So title is very important to me. So that would be a major red flag to me, and I would definitely do my digging because I would want to educate my client to say, this is the issue, this is the risk. Are you comfortable with their side promising you that they'll take care of you if this issue ever comes up?
Are you willing to take that risk?
Are you willing? If they tell me yes, because this is the house that I pictured my entire life in, and I pictured my children here, and I pictured grandkids, and this is
You're like, all right, stop. Okay.
I can't make that call for you.
Yeah.
You got to make...
You can only give them counsel.
I could only educate them.
So here's a question I'm going to use. I'm starting to watch other podcasts, and I like the way certain people phrase things. So is the negotiation of purchase sale transaction a game of omission? Like, I'll give you an example on underwriting. Mm-hmm. There's certain things that my collateral underwriter, which is the person who does the appraisal, needs to know. Mm-hmm. They don't need to know other shit. Mm-hmm. Then I have my income underwriter that needs to know, doesn't need to know other shit. And I have my title underwriter. Like, there's 3 different underwriters on a deal.
Yeah.
I purposely edit information because they only need to know what they need to know.
Correct.
Right? Not extra. Mm-hmm. So in a negotiation contract, do you feel like it's a game of omission?
Lenders do not need to see the PCDS. Why you got to see
Break that out.
The property condition disclosure statement is a new requirement as of March last year that sellers need to sign. And it's the sellers disclosing to the best of their knowledge the condition of the property. But really, it's the whole contract says buyers responsible for doing their diligence to know what they purchased. Yeah. So that PCDS, I tell my clients, take it as a grain of salt. What you really need to do is inspect the property.
Right.
You take that inspection report, you put more weight on that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's useful to compare the information if the inspector thinks that the boiler is 30 years old, but the seller's telling you it was just replaced last year, or vice versa. Then we could start digging into getting details. But like, the bank doesn't need to know about all those. Sometimes it just confuses people.
I agree.
That's
why I brought up the topic.
Yeah, it confuses people that don't know what they're looking at. Sometimes we have underwriters from other states.
Texas. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, California.
They don't even know what a PCDS is. They're like, whoa, this is probably more important than an inspection and appraisal and all the things above. The house is going to blow up. Stop the whole deal. They can't buy it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why confuse things?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do believe that there's definitely an element of omission here, but not a lack of protection.
No.
And I think that, again, it's a fine line. You have to find a team that understands who needs to know what and how quickly and how we word it, and still having documents that protect our client. Because like seller repair items, I've had underwriters say,
You had that happen.
Yeah.
You hit me up here, hey, Omar, do I need it? Does it have to be on the contract or put it on the side? I was like, please put it on the side. I don't really care about that. Let's just, yeah.
And it takes an attorney with experience
Takes a pro.
to know,
Yes.
I'm going to protect my client.
Yeah.
The bank don't got to be involved.
Right.
And it takes a loan officer to be like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we don't need that. We just need this.
Correct.
We'll get you. Once we have the money, at the closing, we negotiate, right? That becomes the conversation. But I think going back to what I said earlier, it was like knowing who you work with is very important. Yeah. I've had deals where I had a deal recently this year. I was like ready to lose it. Client comes to me, they need money. It's like the cash out buying out his brother, whatever, $800,000 cash in hand. He has an attorney that he never told me about negotiating it. I didn't know this. But I already had the loan approved and clear to close. By the time I get a call from an attorney saying, oh, I'm representing him. I was like, wow, you never told me. I'm sorry. I said, all right, so I'm going to send you the title report. I'm going to send you the commitment. And then you tell me what you want to do. So she was a little pissed off, which I understand. But it wasn't my fault. I don't think it was my fault.
Well, you weren't told.
He never told me, right? So then we get to the closing, and then the first thing out of her mouth, she was older. I'll just say that. Is, we can adjourn. I was like, you can't walk into a closing room talking about adjourn.
Talking about leaving.
Yeah, I was like, we didn't even get so. So all right, so she's going over every piece of paper. Just for the audience, if you trust your lender and your attorney, a refi closing should take 45 minutes. Just if that, right? Because if you're signing and you want to know,
oh, this is a refi.
We're 2.5 hours in. So finally, I pull him out. I said, "Yo, bro, listen. It's either you're gonna trust me, or get out." I was like, "Take your turn, get out of my office."
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh no, I need the money." I was like, "I know you need the money. I know you have these tax liabilities coming up." She's acting like she don't. I don't know what you told her, but you put me in a really bad situation because now, all of a sudden, like it's not even. We're not working together. It's almost like we're working against each other. Right. So finally, he went back in. He started signing. She kind of cooled down after a while, but it's all about managing relationships also. But going back to clients disclosing information to us, right? Like that's the big thing. And knowing who you work. Like she was mad. She delayed the closing by 3 weeks because she wasn't available. She was going away or whatever,
right.
Which is, I guess we're all human, but I just felt like the client could have made this a lot easier. Have you been in situations like that?
Yeah. So let's take that example, right? A couple of red flags that I probably would have, as an attorney, if that client would have called me, I would have mitigated. If I'm going away, no problem. Hey, can you send me the loan package? I'd like to review it. I want to go over it with my client remotely, even if I'm in Rome. Not to say that,
But you're going to Rome.
I am, thanks to my daughter. But like, I could have reviewed that with my client. I didn't have to physically be sitting there, right? I could have reviewed it with him. Yep, this looks great. I got a question about this, and that. I'll shoot an email. Great, got a response. It's done. You're good to sign. I'm not available during your closing date, but I did review everything with you, and we're good. The numbers are good. Everything makes sense. Go ahead and sign the document.
See, that's a real attorney. No offense. But she had the package for 3 weeks.
So there you go.
And then she's sitting there for 2.5 hours in the conference room with Soundview. I'm like, no.
Well, the second thing I was going to say is she was sitting there for 2.5 hours in Soundview in the closing because she's trying to legitimize herself to her client.
Yes.
It's not always necessary.
Yes.
There's other ways to do that. Truthfully. And I think nowadays, people really care about their time.
Yeah.
So I don't need to sit here for 2.5 hours with this client because I could legitimize myself in the first 10 minutes. It's not that serious. But these old school attorneys, they feel like that's not possible.
This is not an attack on old school attorneys, but it sounds like it is. Go ahead.
It's just old tactics.
Yeah,
right?
old tactics.
Because you could be a new school attorney doing doing it old school way because you think in law school they taught you your job security is overcomplicating things. It really is not that difficult, especially in transactions.
Yeah.
And I've had clients try to review the documents at the closing table, and I stopped them and I'm like, do you want to leave a homeowner today? Yes. Are you going to take it over Chase's legal team because you don't like how they wrote up this mortgage? No. Okay, so you can sign these documents. There's about 3 documents that we really care about. Everything else is fluff.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through this.
We'll fly through it. Right. Okay.
So you bang it out. But, I mean, there's just some people out there that just overcomplicate things. So I've definitely been in those situations, and I've even pulled attorneys to the side and been like, are we good here? Everything all right?
Yeah, your girl was getting a little spicy at that last closing. The seller side. I didn't know her. You knew her. So I was just trying to play my position. I was like, okay. I'm gonna leave. I was like, I was.
And she did leave.
Yeah.
She did leave. She had another attorney come in and cover.
And the money came.
Money came.
Yeah.
So we wrapped it up. But yeah, sometimes attorneys do get spicy. And on the one, depending on the circumstances, I can understand it. You know, sometimes they got other things going on.
Yeah.
They got schedules. But I try to approach the issues with a solution. And I tell even my kids, don't come to me with the problem. Come to me with the solution.
Okay.
But I don't want to hear crybabies. I got 5 of those at home. I do not want to hear crybabies in business. Like, really. So come to me with a solution. And if attorneys don't do that, then I end up figuring out the solution for them. And sometimes they even offended that I did. And it's an ego thing. You got to get ego out of business.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I think when you're secure in your profession, and I think good leaders make great followers. My personal opinion, right? Like me, I want to do it this way. Cool, let's do it this way. Like, boom, boom. Like, that's the way it should be. It becomes where everybody wants to be the final decision maker. At the end of the day, it's closing is the final decision.
Correct.
Right? Closing is the final decision. I've had a loan officer yesterday. He's like, he's a residential loan officer, sent me a deal. So here's the part where it gets murky for me. As I'm a lender now, so I'm not just a broker. I'm a lender, so I do what's called TPO business, third party origination. So that means the loan officer brings me his client, his package. I do the underwriting, and I never talk to the client, which sometimes is good, sometimes not good. So I never know what they're telling the client. So then I'll get like a title company be super aggressive, and I'm like, yo, who said you closing Friday? And they were like, well, he did. I'm like, well, no. Like, so it becomes the game of information, right? And setting expectation and working together. Have you been in a situation where like maybe a loan officer or a realtor is kind of like just kind of finessing everything, kind of moving it, and you're like, yo, chill, you gotta stop. You're fucking it up. You're actually fucking it up. Like because now you got everybody thinking it's all good. And I'll give you an example. If you're a buyer's attorney and you got your realtor telling the client, yo, it's not a big deal. Talk about it. I know these really happen, so I'm just trying to.
The biggest one.
Yeah. Okay.
The municipals don't matter.
Okay.
The bank doesn't care about them.
Yeah.
So municipals will determine whether or not there are violations against the property, right? Sometimes the violation can be really simple, and other times it can be really complicated. A really simple one is like the seller did all the work, they got the proper permits, the contractor came in, did it all, but forgot to close out the permit. Okay, no big deal. The contractor can come back and they'll close out that permit. Fine. Or literally one of the properties that I was working on put an extension on the house with not a single permit.
Full extension.
Right. Not a single permit. That's a big issue, right? Or even a finished basement with no permitting, no nothing. I ask my clients, does this impact the day-to-day life? Right? If there's a problem with the work that was done, are you okay with contractors coming in to correct it while you're living there?
Right.
You know? So the realtors will tell my buyers, the bank doesn't care about the munis. We could close. We're clear to close. We're good. We could just schedule it. Just tell your attorney you want to schedule. I'm big on, I don't know if it's the Bronx in me, but I don't hide behind texts or emails. Right? I pick up the phone. We good? Do you understand what you're telling our client? And I don't give that impression off to the client.
Right.
I just tell them, let me call your realtor real quick. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah. So I'm make sure the team is working in the same direction.
So when I call the realtor, I'm like, do you understand what you're telling? Well, can't you just do a post-closing occupancy, like a post-closing escrow agreement? Yeah. And I'm like, yes, but it's more complicated than that. I need to understand the issue so I understand how to protect our client, even if we're doing an escrow agreement after closing, right? So I think it's all about clear communication. And I think that sometimes the lack of communication between the parties. Sometimes attorneys are egotistical and do not even want to explain themselves to the realtor, which I think is counterproductive.
Yeah.
And puts the client in the middle honestly. The person that has no experience in this.
Yeah, realtors, I mean, because you wear dual hats, you can see both sides.
Correct.
Realtors put the deal together,
Yes.
right? So there's no meat to cut up
And
if the realtor's not bringing the deal. Yeah.
and let's be honest, there's sometimes that I want the seller side to know something. If I'm not getting feedback from the attorney, who am I going to go to? I'm going to go to the realtor, who's going to go right to the client. And then magically the attorney appears again.
Right.
Right? So like there's a way between professionals to get the job done, and we need to all utilize, our roles here to make it happen. So yeah, I've definitely had those off-record conversations. And then I'm a firm believer in educating the client. So if the client, at the end of the day, the client's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Right? So if the client tells me they're good with taking this risk, with closing with those open municipal issues, despite the fact that I advised against it, after I've educated them, if they make the call and they tell me, no, I'm okay with that risk, okay, then we'll go with what the realtor's saying, and we'll go ahead and schedule for 5 p.m. today.
In 10 minutes. In 10 minutes.
Right. So like, it is what it is. I just know that I walk away confident that I've educated my client. And to memorialize that education, I also make them sign an indemnity agreement.
Okay.
So you're going to say,
I told you.
and right, I told you. So if it blows up later, I could go, I told you so.
I told you. Yeah.
Right? So that's how I would maneuver stuff like that.
In my experience, I think each county or each district, whatever term you want to use, has very different challenges. For example, in the Bronx, you have cultural differences.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're very different, right? And we talk about that. In Westchester, I had a deal in Westchester. I just want to talk about it. It was pretty funny. There's almost a sense of, and I say this carefully, but impudence from certain sellers. They're like, yeah, you want to buy the house? Yes, this is. I had a deal, which I'll always give her respect for. It's a client of mine. I won't say her name. So they're negotiating, and basically, whatever, she gets full ask, right? Whatever. But in the full ask, there was a seal that wasn't signed off on.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to what you said earlier, yeah, you're right. Municipals don't matter to me. So I'm like, we're clear to close.
Right.
I didn't know about a municipal thing till I told her we're clear to close. She goes, well, hold on. She goes like, well, let me see something. And she starts telling me the CO thing. I was like, oh shit, okay, I didn't know about that. And I only triggered that story in my head because what you said about the climate will respect your daily life. She goes, yo man, I paid them, whatever the number, $600,000 up front. She put $200,000. She was a strong client, a strong buyer. And she was like, yo, that's their fucking problem. Right? So she goes, no, we're not closing. I was like, for real? She goes, yo, fuck that. She told me. I was like, okay. So we go to the seller side. They're like, well, we bought this house in Florida and we live in Florida now. The house empty. She goes, ain't nobody tell you about house in Florida. So we get delayed 30, 45 days, whatever. And she was like, yo, man, they could take it and shove it up. And I felt that because she was like, I'm gonna have some strangers in my house because she's a single woman.
Yeah.
She was like, strangers in my house to inspect it. She was like, no. She was like, I pay them full price.
Correct.
And I expect all this to be cleaned up. To a point where when we closed, the sales attorney was a little, so I showed up just to make sure because she's we could talk about this if you want to. I think you're the right person to talk about it. I feel that sometimes when it's single women and stuff like that, the temperature in the room gets funny. And, like I come from a single mom household, so I know what that's like. So I pull up. I was like, you good? Everything's cool. Right. We're good. Right. And he was a little whatever, but at the end he was better. But he was acting a certain type of way. And I now we do the passive aggressive shit at the closing table. Like, yo, we would have been here. The seller would have done his job. Right, and then he wasn't even sitting with us. He was going outside and wherever, and he was doing this thing and coming back and having here's something here and going back outside because I didn't want her to feel a certain type of way. She was, listen, it was a headache, right? Because we had delayed. Now we had this deal dragging. But she was within her rights. And usually sometimes people, I wasn't trying to convince her any other way. I was like, yo, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. Yep. And have you seen instances like that where you see like a single female buyer or something like that? And like the other sides are trying to be like a little aggressive or rather like impudent. And, she was like, Omar, what's my recollection? I was like, yo, they can't deliver. You're good. Your money's good. Like, I'm not your attorney, but your money's good. Right. Whether I give you more commitment or not, doesn't matter. In the contract, it states you want that. And that's what it is. So have you ever experienced something like that? Because I've been experiencing a lot of crazy shit lately. So I just want to talk about it.
So my own closing
Which one? So your house?
When I purchased my personal house, my first house. My first purchase was an investment property, but the house for me and my daughter, which I feel like added a layer of complication because now Mama Bear's at the table.
Right.
The investment property is an investment. I look at that differently. Like if that closing would have died, there's a ton of other investment properties. The house that my daughter's gonna rest her head, we closing today. Okay.
Right.
And as a single mom,
At the time you're a single mom.
fine.
Okay.
As a single mom at the time, I actually brought my grandfather to that closing table, which added another layer because you ain't gonna embarrass me in front of my grandfather. Okay?
Right.
So now I wanted to be proud of me, so I'm not backing down to anybody.
You can see me move.
Correct. At that closing, seller's attorney, well, sorry, it was a resolution that they needed from the builder because there was a brand new construction.
Okay.
Not to toot my own horn, but it was a brand new
Man, you can start nobody did before.
Nobody did it before, just me and my baby. But I busted my butt to get to that closing table. So they're now telling me, oh, sorry, one of the members is not available. She's already left and I won't be able to get the resolution today. Mind you, I did exactly what I tell my clients not to do is I had a moving truck in front of this house ready for me to say, okay, we're good.
Pressure's on.
Right.
Pressure's on, yeah.
And my grandfather sitting next to me. Remember, I mean, he can get by in English, but that's not his first language, so he doesn't really understand.
He's going over energy.
He's like, resolution? ¿Qué es eso?
¿Qué es eso? La solución.
¿Qué es? So, he doesn't understand what's going on, but he does feel the energy in the room. So I feel him getting nervous for me. And I'm like, no. We are closing this today. And I think that they looked at me, because at the time I was also trying to help a friend learn real estate. So
you had people there? Like a class?
Well, no. On the books, my friend was the lawyer.
Okay.
But she had never, because she was an attorney. We went to law school together. So she was thinking about whether or not she wanted to do real estate. So I told her, represent me in my transaction. And I'll just behind the scenes tell you what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So at the table, they're like, your attorney's not speaking. Kind of like, sit down.
They were like, who are we supposed to talk to?
Right. So they're telling me to like sit down. But I'm like, she don't know what she's doing yet. So I had to take over. But I think that they were kind of looking at me like, oh, little lady, sit down. Sorry, that's not how we handle things here. Not realizing what I do for a living.
Right.
So I had to take full charge at that table. And I remember leaving and I'm like, that's messed up. Because if it had been anybody else, we would not have closed. My solution to the problem was they didn't even want to prep the resolution, the attorney. Yeah. It was all ego. No, your title company's asking for it. Let them prep it.
Oh, God.
I'm like, really?
I hate when they do it. Who's doing Acro stocks? I was like, it was 4 forms. What was going here?
And you don't even have to really fill them out. You fill out a little form online.
Yeah.
And generates it for you.
Yeah.
So
we're vetting right now.
I'm like, there's a lot of ego at this table. So I drafted the resolution myself.
You get your laptop out?
Yeah. I'd never go to a closing without my laptop.
Okay.
You witness that.
Yeah,
my laptop gets busted out. If we got time, I'm here working on whatever I got to work on.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, we are closing this deal. Now I had to straighten my back and kind of put some bass into my voice because I'm like, this is happening.
Right.
Here's the resolution. Well, she can't sign it. Well, where is she? Oh, I don't know. She's on the road. No problem. What's her email address?
E-sign?
E-sign. Done. Original to follow. Give me. You need an indemnity that you'll get the original to the title company within 24 hours after closing. No problem. Here, I drafted it for you. Print that too.
Wow.
We getting this done.
Yeah.
But back to your point, as a single mom, I mean, I've had clients that are single moms or even first-time home buyers. Yeah. They just sit there like a deer in headlights.
I mean to cut you off, but I have to ask this question. Like, so I have a thing. So my wife is new in the business. So most of her friends are like first-time home buyers. So I've been doing this a long time. So my patience for that is a little different, right? So how do you feel like when I hear guys say, or girls, I specialize in first-time home buyers? What I hear is I specialize in people that don't know what the fuck they're doing so that they can't ask me questions. That's what I hear. Like, am I wrong for that?
I don't think you're wrong for that.
Okay.
I tell people, so my spin on that is I say, I love first-time home buyers. Why? Because it really gives me an opportunity to educate this person that they feel like they walked off from that closing table knowing
smarter
what happened.
Yeah.
They learned throughout every step of that transaction. My contract reviews are at minimum 25 to 30 minutes. Why? Because I'm explaining to my client not only the terms of their contract, but how the pieces of the real estate puzzle fit together. And I think that makes a big difference. People that say that they specialize in first-time home buyers or even the Spanish-speaking professionals, I feel like
they're mad shade right now. Spanish speaking professional. I love it.
I'm like, I just feel like you're looking for a class of people that you could take advantage of.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not here for it.
Yeah.
That's what got me into private practice to begin with.
Okay.
I bought that house with my daughter, moved up to an area where there were not a lot of Spanish-speaking people.
Right.
And I'm like, but there's a big Spanish-speaking, not a lot of Spanish-speaking professionals, but there was a big Spanish-speaking population.
Okay.
Community. So I'm like, I'm sure there's a market here for the service.
Yeah.
I gave out my card to one person. It snowballed after that.
Really?
Literally. In a pizzeria. As stereotypical as that sounds. In a pizzeria.
That made a lot of people go,
Fulano in the back. I said, I'm new to the area. Si me necesita, me llama. If you need me, call me. Gave them my card. Within the week, my cousin's brother's friend's boss is buying.
They want to buy something. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it just snowballed.
Yeah.
And I think that those are first-time home buyers, Spanish-speaking clients, they deserve good service.
Yeah.
Problem is they don't know when they're getting it.
Yeah. That's a great statement.
So I target those communities because I know they leave feeling confident.
I think the best feeling I've had one time, it didn't happen at the closing. I have a client that bought, he has primary investment property and building. He bought like $5 million worth of real estate with me. But I didn't know any of this till later because, when you're meeting a client, it's not really, you get to know each other, but it's not like social. It's very, so then after we closed on his third deal, which was a restaurant, I went to have coffee with them just because I think that's something you should do. And he's like, do you know that I was denied by 8 banks before I met you? And I was like, for real? He's like, he was an EA1. He didn't have his green card yet, but you can still do that. But a lot of guys, he would go to Chase or Bank of America. They're like, no, we can't help you. And this guy's, he's well-to-do. His restaurant, $300,000-$400,000 a month. He's making money. And you'd be surprised at the type of people that are getting denied, right? And I think the reason for the podcast and the reason to talk about these stories is also to give light to that, because we believe what we hear. And if somebody tells you no enough, luckily he got to me through somebody else. Like try. They said, try Omar. He'll figure it out for you. And we did it. And he was like, and his wife was kind of in tears. She's like, you don't understand. Before we met you, we were denied all the time.
Wow.
And they had money, and they had good FICOs. They had stuff. It just, nobody's willing to do the work.
Right.
Look behind. All right, we can fix it this way. We can do it this way. Stuff like that. What about you? What you have a feel good moment?
A feel good moment. Yeah, actually, it was a pretty crazy closing. So, first of all, I always feel good when I help these people, right? But there are certain circumstances that stick out in your head, right? So there was one. I went to the closing. I was the seller's attorney.
Okay.
On this deal. My seller, this was during COVID too. Okay. So my seller was not present. They wanted to minimize people at the closing tables then anyway. So my seller wasn't present. I had pre-signed docs. And the buyer's attorney was there. Buyer's attorney literally got up and was yelling at me. Again, this is during COVID, so I had my daughter with me because remote school.
Right.
We got to do. Mama still got to work. So she was doing remote school at the table. That's right. So this guy is yelling at me because I didn't bring checks to pay for my seller's fees. I said, but I gave you a checklist asking you to bring them because that is what happens at closings. Clearly, this is not an individual that did a lot of real estate, but this was an old school, old white male attorney who looked at me and was like, yeah, okay.
Right.
Got up and was literally yelling at me to the point that the bank attorney in the deal came out and also had a particular relax. Yeah. So, and I'm not from Little Putnam. Southview came out.
I'm not coming around here.
Southview came out real quick. I'm like, who are you thinking? Whatever. So that's a story for another day with a drink. But ultimately, he left.
Really?
He left, and he left his client sitting there. Deal's not closed. He walked out. He was so mad, he left.
Really?
Who were his clients? South American family.
No
had no idea what's going on. They speak no English. They had their high school daughter translating for them.
Oh, see, I've been that person. Yeah.
And me too.
Yeah, I've been that person. So I have a feeling for that. Yeah.
Doctor's appointment.
Yes,
I'm a doctor too.
Translator, yeah. I was there.
So like, I see them and I'm like, I tell them in Spanish, don't worry. We're going to get you close.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
It's going to happen. So that was a feel-good moment for me because in that moment, I stepped into his shoes and I was like, don't worry about that guy.
Yeah.
I got you.
Empower you.
And that wasn't my client.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the ethical thing to do from a legal standpoint? Probably not. They should not have been listening to advice from me on the documents that they were signing. But we all had a common goal here, back to your point. The closing is the goal. The ego and all the fluff that happens beforehand is all bullshit. The closing's the goal. So I explained the docs to them. Again, it's COVID. So like, gotta go here to get checked. And everything was just weird. We got it done ultimately. And I was able to explain everything in Spanish. So the daughter was able to just sit and kind of be like a proud daughter for a second.
Right.
without having to
And
be-
enjoy the experience.
Correct.
Enjoy the experience there.
Correct. So the parents were very thankful to me. I mean, the wife was like in tears and profusely thanking me. I don't know what happened with that guy. I don't know why he just left like that. I said, don't worry about any of that. And we got them closed. So my client was in Florida, sitting by the pool, closed. She's happy.
Wait for the wire.
Right. Waiting for the wire. And then they were thrilled. It was their first purchase ever.
That's right.
Thrilled. So that was definitely a feel-good moment to me. And that was like this is why I do what I do. Because anybody else would have adjourned that. They wouldn't, who knows if they would have closed.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, I've had a lot of those moments, but that one sticks out.
How do you feel about part-time? Well, you touched on it, so I want to open it up. Attorneys that don't do real estate daily, that do it as a supplement, compared to attorneys that do it specifically.
Do you want your general doctor doing open heart surgery on you?
Okay. No.
Correct.
Right.
So you want the
Special.
cardiologist
Yeah. Absolutely.
that specializes in this to do your open heart surgery.
Yeah.
So that's the analogy I give my clients all the time. And when I say it to them like that, they're like, yeah, you're right. I also know exactly who I'm dealing with. Like I told you, when I get contracts. And I'm like, you don't do this. What is this? Redlining form? I'm like,
The quality of work shows of its own.
yeah. So we could, real estate, any attorney that specializes truly in their field can tell when they're working with somebody that does not. And it slows the deal down. And I can't tell you how many times I've had those other attorneys call me off record like, hey, I'm not too sure what to do here.
What would you do?
Can you help me? Right. Even prepping for closing. I'm
Really?
like, I need your checklist.
What's the checklist?
What does that mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
just send me your, let me just do it.
I know it's hard. No, listen, you have a very good attitude about that, because I've been in situations where, I'm just gonna say, one of the attorneys is not pulling their weight, and it always leads to the side texts, because somebody knows somebody, right? So like, yo, Omar, what's up with this guy? And it always just leads to a little friction, and you just kind of like, you try to like, the solution is always to get it done, yes, but the solution that I'm striving for is also to get done with the least amount of stress as possible, right? On my side, when I have guys that are resi loan officers strictly, and they start telling their clients, this is how this works, and this is how that works, and then I gotta reprogram them, right? Like, or erase everything they thought they knew, and it doesn't work because it is, isn't it? Well, he didn't say that. I was like, look, you gonna listen to me, or you listen to one of us? But I'm telling you, so it becomes very hard, especially the guys that are not in this full time. I've been doing this full time for a very long time, and there's a difference. There's a real difference to somebody who eats, sleeps, and I don't want to say the last part, this business, where somebody who, like, and not to shit on people, but, I'm a police officer or a firefighter, and I do this on the side. You could do it on the side, but you might be doing a disservice to your clients.
Yeah. And I think that those people need to humble themselves sometimes to realize when they need the help or when they're not fully versed and you're not an expert in this. So rely on your resources. Just be honest. I mean, yeah, you could fake it till you make it, but the real ones will always know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just, I would encourage like the attorneys that are dabbling, just call me instead of screwing up our deal, please. The loan officers that don't really do this, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. So let's pivot this. Let's change it so that it kind of looks like you're sitting in the driver's seat. And let's call Omar. We're gonna make this conference call.
Yeah, see what's up.
Call Omar beforehand. Omar, this is the question that they need. I kind of need help in answering this.
Yeah.
And now you look like the star of the show because you just brought Omar into the mix and got the client all the answers they wanted. Now you also learn something on the side, but your clients don't need to know that.
And as a bank attorney, because I get calls sometimes on my deals. They're like, yo, if it's verified assets, they're like, yo, we have enough. Like, I have a deal like right now we're dealing with. They're like, oh, the loan amount's only this. I was like, we're good. whoa. I'm like 320 verified. Like when you're talking to people that know, they bet 3 like yo or 1.8 verified. Oh, great. Yeah, because some people putting the gum together. They're like, oh, I got $16.
Yep. And you always know, like closing, right? See these out. Hold up, my client has the money, but do they really have the money? Right? Like, oh, do they really have it? Like, oh,
But do they have it right now? Right? Yeah.
Do they have it right now, or have you verified, like you said, verified assets? Do they really have it in your eyes, or now you're going to tell me we have to go back to underwriting because they're short on cash close, and you didn't update a base statement? Like, has all that been done already?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are situations where maybe they'll meet the reserves requirement, right? So it's being able to pick up the phone, and I'm an advocate for pick up the phone.
Don't hide behind text and emails.
I don't hide behind.
That's gonna be our hashtag right here. Don't hide behind text and emails.
Correct, and also don't put like I tell all these kids these days, y'all stupid. You be doing dumb stuff and documenting it. Why are you documenting your stupidity? So
that's another podcast.
Correct.
That's another podcast.
But in this scenario, pick up the phone before you shoot out an email that now screws up the whole deal. Pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, this is a situation. I didn't realize the new thing. I didn't realize that the buyer had to pay a percentage or two towards their realtor.
Oh, so they're not even understanding how they have to pay the commission structures.
Correct.
Okay. Well, yes, that's it.
Which is why as somebody does this full time, I have now a clause in my rider automatically who pays what in the deal.
So no.
So that the bank attorney is aware what needs to go on the CD. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't know that to the very end, you may have even thought you had all the income verified without even realizing they had to pay an extra 2%.
Yes.
So they're a realtor.
Yes.
So those conversations, sometimes you got to have off-record conversations to figure out how can we make this work.
Yeah, I mean, verified assets is one thing. I mean, in hard money, right? Sometimes we don't verify, but I always do. I had a guy who used to work for me. He doesn't work for me anymore. All his banks, processing used to have a shit to me. Omar, fire this guy from the beginning. Every bank statement he's in is negative 200. Like, they don't have no money, bro. And I'll be like, yo, bro, what is this? He's like, or they're going to have it. Oh. So his, just to go into pull-through ratios, right? Amount of loans you submit to close, like 10%. So he put in 100 loans, 10 close. So finally, I let that guy go. Yeah. But it just goes to respecting because he's just thinking, if I put this together, it's going to work. I'm like, no, you need money.
Yeah.
You need money because it's real estate, not fake estate.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You're not fake estate, it's real estate.
I had clients tell me, no, I don't have it all right now. But if we close on this day, I get paid this many times. I'm like,
oh, he's doing that.
Yeah. I'm like, I love the optimism, but baby. I'm like, that's a conversation you need to have with Omar.
All right, what's the craziest thing that's happening? We're going to sum it up. Well, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you at closing so far?
Oh my God. I don't even know. The yelling match was an interesting one.
I've yet to have that. I've been very lucky in my years. Nobody's ever like flipped out. They get mad when they see what their net is. The sellers, they're like, what is this? I'm going to say 100,000. Like, yeah, 60. That's been bad. That's been bad.
I've seen that. Oh my gosh, I got stories too. I got kids. People bring their kids who are bouncing off the walls. I've gotten walkthrough issues. Walkthrough issues are fun. That you got to negotiate at the closing table. People, don't have running water, and then just tensions fly. I've gotten buyers and sellers that got backdoor deals. Like,
wait, open that up a little bit. Backdoor deals.
Like, oh, Jessica, I didn't really tell you, but they were supposed to leave me all their furniture, and they wanted me to pay $5,000 for it, but I only got $2,000.
Oh, negotiate that?
I'm not. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I'm nothing to do with me. Take that outside. Because, but then the tensions rise over that. Yeah. Tight to sell. Sellers that aren't out on closing day, which I didn't know I had to leave.
What? You get a big check for nothing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting to the closing table and son and mom are on the deed. Oh, my son's in Arizona. He's not going to be here today. Oh, shit. I told you in my email, I put everything in writing for everybody in English and in Spanish. We're not playing games here. No Google Translate necessary. Jessica Translate is here. So I'm very clear. She's like, oh, I saw that, but I thought he could sign electronically. Mm-hmm. So I've had that. And I mean, for the most part, I finesse the stuff that happens at the table. But, oh my God, I could go on for days.
The funniest thing that happened to me recently was that at a closing, we went to contract in October, supposedly as is. I'm not going to go too much into it because we know people involved in this transaction.
Oh boy.
As is, my sales attorney, our boy, doesn't read the contract. The buyer's attorney slips something in about heat and hot water working. Whatever we start going, gets cold, hot water not working. So I gotta run in and get that done. The day of closing walkthrough, they called Con Ed to put the gas on. Well, the gas hasn't been off 6 months.
Oh my.
So we go. Con Ed has to come inspect. So I negotiate. It was like a $15,000 escrow because I had a licensed plumber who said, "Yo, it's gonna cost $5,000." Like he gave me a breakdown, and I think the sellers closed or the buyers closed because when there was no hot water, I fixed it in a day. I had it done. You know, like I was like, the way I moved down that is the way I want to move, and using the numbers. So it's a buyer and a seller. I'm sorry, 2 buyers, but in the room, about 10 people. Yeah. So I'm like, yo, who are these people, right? I'm not gonna go to the ethnicity. So I'm like, oh, so homeboy over here saw something. I'm like, I want 50,000. I looked at him. I was like, who are you? First of all, I was like, and no, you're not getting that. You're getting this because this is what it costs. And I'm giving you double. I think that's fair. I was like, and I like everybody here. I want you to close. If you don't, you know, it's not gonna end my life. It is what it is. Let's go. And the end of closing. But that was the trickiest because I did not know the gas was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just
you think it's all covered.
Yeah, and you gotta pull it out of where to just figure it out and get it done.
Yeah.
But that's also something you mentioned is having the plumber. You had somebody in pocket, right?
Yes.
So that's a testament to somebody that does this a lot, does this full time, and knows what cards you need to pull out.
Got the Rolodex out.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're dabbling in this, do you have those people on standby?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Who they move?
Who are gonna move for you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that makes a difference because that could have added a whole nother layer to your escrow.
So Jessica is back in 2026.
She is.
Jessica, where will people find you for legal advice or real estate advice? Secret to Can, what you can.
So my Instagram is jfigco, JFIGCO. You can reach out to me directly, 347-797-7905. You got that faster than my husband got that. So reach out to me. Honestly, if I'm not available, somebody's going to answer that phone and get you in touch with me. Reach out to me with all your real estate needs and estate planning needs. And I'm happy to help and service. And also, we didn't touch on this.
That's all right.
I opened up a generator business.
Okay.
So
people in Westchester, right? That's really Westchester.
So we cover the Hudson Valley. It's Generator Supercenter of the Hudson Valley. And no, don't worry, it doesn't impact my other businesses. When you're a businesswoman, you're a businesswoman. So I got staff covering all ends. But we install, we do sales, we install, we do maintenance and monitoring of your generators, whole house generators, Generac. So reach out to me at the same line.
And they don't have gas, the generators?
So propane, gas, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we handle everything.
Okay.
Everything start to finish.
Install
Permits, the masonry, if we need a cement slab to place the generator on, if we need to excavate to put your propane tank in the ground, all of it.
Wow.
Start to finish, truly. There's flat rates, and we also offer financing.
So they could buy the house through you, you can represent them, and you install the generator.
And if there's a generator already there, we can service it and make sure that's actually running well if you want to get that inspected before you close. So we will take care of you. So yeah.
All right. Thank you. Absolutely so more. You know, I'm at. You know, I'm here every day, all day. I will talk soon.